Do you have a travel bucket list? I'll give you 3 good reasons why you should, and I've got some ultimate experiences to recommend, and also where am I off to next? Hi, it's Melissa here at Ready to Go, where we discuss tips and resources to help you plan your very own travels and create unforgettable memories and experiences. So people have bucket lists for all sorts of things, including hobbies, sports, career milestones. Well, here, as you can probably guess, we're going to talk about why I feel it's very important for everyone, including you, to have a travel bucket list. I'll also share with you what's on my bucket list and some pretty unique experiences that you may want to add to yours. Now stay tuned, as towards the end of the video, I'll share with you where I'm off to next, as in this week. Very excited, and how all of that works into my own travel bucket list items. So I'm curious to know, if you have a travel bucket list, what destinations and experiences are on it. Write those up in the comments below. Okay, let's go. So why is having a travel bucket list so important? Well, the first reason is learning and cultural exposure. Having a diverse travel bucket list can help to expose you to different cultures, lifestyles, and traditions. All of this exposure fosters a much better understanding of how the world works and helps to promote cultural appreciation and awareness. So one of the reasons I started this channel, and something you'll often hear me say, is that I believe that travel is the best learning experience, not just in terms of being worldly, but it also teaches you a lot about yourself. Things don't function the way we're used to in different countries. For instance, if you travel to India and you're looking for a bathroom, you want to make sure you specify you're looking for a Western bathroom versus an Indian bathroom, which is basically more of a hole in the ground. In Japan, streets don't have names. They use block and section numbers. In Switzerland, people in public places and on public transportation tend to be quiet. So you want to know that so that you're not the loud talking tourist on board. In the US, women cannot go topless on most beaches unless it's a nudist beach, whereas in Europe, this is very common and everyone is pretty relaxed about it. So having these experiences helps to build your character and make you more adaptable to different ways of doing things. In addition to this, when we travel, things don't always go as planned. Flights can get canceled or very delayed. Our hotel room may not be exactly what we expected. Read the reviews, people. Our rental car can break down, or we may fall ill or get injured abroad. And all of these situations will require us sometimes to deal with customer service agents or regulations to which we're not accustomed to. So you learn to be patient and flexible, but at the same time, you also learn where the red line is for you. In my case, for instance, I found that renting cars in Europe has become very challenging, costly, and inconvenient. We used to, for example, rent diesel cars, which gave us more mileage and were much more cost effective, especially because the price of gas in Europe is so much more expensive than in North America. But now you have these green zones where diesel cars are not permitted, and you don't necessarily know this in advance. It can also be certain sections in a city, so you might find yourself at odds with your car rental. Also, the cost of gas and highway tolls in Europe has become astronomical. Luckily, they have a great efficient train system, so where possible, trains are now the way to go. So in a nutshell, learning about how things work around the world and learning your own limits and your own red lines is the first good reason to have a travel bucket list. Now, the second reason is challenging yourself. A travel bucket list will give you opportunities to step out of your comfort zone, and this can mean different things for different people. Some people have never taken a flight or been out of the country, so that could be a bucket list item. Other people may have much more extreme items, such as scaling Mount Everest. So writing out and having a bucket list just gets you going with exploring new places and maybe having new adventures. So it pushes you to try out new activities such as hiking, diving, trying out unique cuisines, and just leading to a more fulfilling and adventurous life. It's also a way to test your limits. For instance, I had snorkeling on my bucket list. I did it once in Mexico years ago and it was really not what I was expecting. So they made us swim out away from the boat with the guide. And when we were approximately 100 meters from the boat, which is quite far for someone who's not used to being in the ocean, I sort of got this moment of panic because you can't get back on the boat. And I realized that for myself, I do not like to be underwater, even partially. It's a whole other world down there and it is beautiful, but I just had this moment of panic when I looked underwater because there are fish and creatures coming at you from all different directions. And if you've never experienced it before, it can be just an overwhelming moment. So maybe watch some videos about snorkeling before you actually do it. There are, however, people who love to snorkel and love to scuba dive and have entire trips built around that activity. So you may have items on your travel bucket list that you've always wanted to do, and when you get to them, it's like, okay, check, one and done. On the positive side, I've learned that I absolutely love hiking in nature and I love doing coastal hikes along the ocean. I can walk for hours and days. I just love looking at the scenery while challenging myself physically. And I find that you really don't realize the time passing even during the parts of the hike that are the most challenging. Now, I'm curious to know, what are some experiences that you had maybe planned in the past and that were completely different than what you had expected, either in a good way or in a bad way? Please write those up in the comments below as well. And the number 3 reason I believe it's important to have a travel bucket list is that it acts as a motivator in your life. Just knowing that you have some exciting destinations or experiences that you're looking forward to acts as a way to motivate you to get to those experiences. And this is especially true during challenging times in your life. Even if at the moment or at this stage of your life, you may not have the budget or the time to get away, a travel bucket list can include items that are a day trip from your house, a few hours drive, or try to get on a hop-on, hop-off bus if you live in a big city and you get to be a tourist for a day in your own city. So you'll probably learn something new and see it from a visitor's perspective. I did this once. I took a tour bus in Montreal, and the most interesting thing for me was not the actual tour, but rather the questions that the people traveling were asking the tour guide. Having a bucket list helps to keep us motivated and enthusiastic in life. Okay, so what's on my list so far and where am I at with it? I have 5 major items currently on my travel bucket list, including number 1, 50 by 50, visiting 50 countries by the age of 50. So I've traveled quite a bit, but in the past, I've often returned to the same places. So we're gonna shake it up a bit moving forward. I'm currently at 24, but after my next cruise, if everything goes as planned, I'll be at 27. Cruising is a great way to briefly see many different countries within the same week and maybe decide in the future to have a land-based trip there. Or if it's not your cup of tea, well, you're just spending a day there and you're not wasting any more time and money on that location. So how do I tabulate these 50 countries and what counts or doesn't count? Well, for instance, having a layover between 2 flights in an airport does not count as having visited that country. So my rule is there needs to be at least a half day spent in that country and it needs to involve an activity. So something like an excursion or even just walking around the main part of the city or the historic area. So my goal to count it as one of the 50 countries is that I've been able to absorb some of the cultural experience of that place. Second item on my bucket list is to see all 50 United States. So far, I'm at 11, so there'll be some major Great American road tripping in the near future. My third item is a big one, and that's visiting Antarctica with a land excursion included. I figure that this will probably end up being one of the most expensive trips of our lives. So it's really a medium to long-term plan. Now, in Antarctica, the only ships that are allowed to dock there and have people join a land excursion are ships with 500 passengers or less. So these ships tend to be much smaller than the mega ships going around the Caribbean at the moment. And getting to Antarctica does involve crossing the Drake Passage, which is one of the most turbulent parts of the ocean. And this is the area between Cape Horn in South America and the South Shetland Islands in Antarctica. It's actually where the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Southern Seas converge. And because there are no nearby land masses there, there's nothing to block these converging ocean currents. And it's a 36-hour crossing each way. Now, there is an option to avoid all this and to just fly over the Drake Passage. So in the future, whenever we hopefully have the opportunity to plan this trip, we'll decide whether we want to fly it or actually cross with the ship through the Drake Passage. I think I might brave the waters and then regret it, but I really think I might brave the waters. Stay tuned. Okay, the fourth item on my travel bucket list is Machu Picchu and getting there via the Inca Trail, which is a 3-night, 4-day hike through the Andes Mountains. And the fifth item on my current bucket list is to visit the Holy Land and swim in the Dead Sea. Now, this was actually going to be our summer trip this year, but obviously due to the wartime situation going on there, it won't be possible at the moment, but I believe it will be in the near future and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so enough about my travel bucket list. What's on your travel bucket list? If you have any really interesting ideas, please write those up in the comments below. I really look forward to reading them. Now, as promised, where am I going to next, as in this week? Now, I'll get to that in a second, but first, if you've watched this far and you're finding this video interesting, please give it a big like. It really helps out the channel and it signals to other viewers that this is a video with good information. So where am I going? Well, we're very excited to be leaving on a 3-week trip. It's very rare that we can get away for such a long period of time, so I'm very excited about it. It's cold in Canada, so skipping 3 weeks of the winter, yes, please. So this will be part road trip, part city visiting, part cruising. So we'll be driving from Montreal all the way down to Florida. Now this is a 24-hour drive, so we're going to be doing some interesting stops along the way. For example, we're going to be spending 36 hours in Savannah, Georgia. In Florida, we'll be spending time in both Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and I've got a bunch of activities planned, so I hope I can get to them all so that I can prepare some really good content for you. Now, so far, all of the trip reviews on my channel have been from trips I've done in the past when I didn't yet have a YouTube channel. So the amount of footage I have and narration is very limited. But this time I'll be able to do a lot more narration from the actual places I'm visiting. So I'll keep some of these locations a surprise for now. But as part of this trip, we'll also be doing an 8-night Caribbean cruise. So we'll be on Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, which is now the 3rd largest ship in the world after the Icon and the Wonder, which we did last year. And our itinerary will be taking us to the Southern Caribbean, and we'll be visiting the islands of Aruba, Curacao, and Labadee, which is one of Royal Caribbean's private beaches. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we'll be doing some pretty interesting things in Miami as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it got you thinking on places to go and adventures to seek. If so, please smash that like button and share it to your socials so that your friends and family can see it as well. And to make sure you never miss out on new videos, now's the time to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications bell so that you're notified every week when a new video comes out. And this way, you make sure that you're always ready to go.